Bellator is back, and from the SAP Center in San Jose, California, we've got Bellator 292, and in the main event, Usman Nurmagomedov makes his first defense of the Bellator Lightweight Championship as he defends against Benson Henderson. Also in the Lightweight Grand Prix, we've got Tofik Musayev taking on Alexander Shabily. Also, we've got Michael Venom Page in this card. He'll be taking on Gochi Yamauchi, and Moldavsky taking on Linton Vassell as well. It's a really good Bellator card. 13 fights from the SAP Center again in San Jose this Friday night. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more MMA here on the channel. Yesterday, we posted our UFC Vegas predictions with, of course, Piotr Jan and, of course, Murtazaliev in the main event. So go check out that video also if you haven't yet, but let's do it. 13 fights from San Jose this Friday night. So if this is your first time watching Bellator, first time watching the channel, I mean, the first 4 fights are usually all enhancement matches. Basically fights that you know who's going to go out there and win the fight. Really, the first 5 fights are like this to start off this card, but I mean, we can just go over these really quickly. First up, Dupree Stewart is going to win. He'll win by first round submission. The guy he's fighting is a 2-2 amateur. I mean, it's an obvious fight. Dupree Stewart is making his professional MMA debut, but he was 5-0 as an amateur. He's going to go on. He's going to win this fight. Next up, we got Theo. He's going to win by first round submission, probably. I mean, the guy he's fighting is 2-2. It's, again, another mismatch. I got first round submission in that one. Then we've got Guevara taking on Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker's 1-3, and for Vladimir, he won his first fight in Bellator at Bellator 288. Sean Tucker's a guy who's 1-3, who did fight in Bellator back in 2016 against James Chapman. It was a very long time ago. The main event of that card was King Mo versus Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis. So it just shows you how long ago this guy's, he hasn't been active, and he's 1-3. Give me Guevara to win this fight. I got him to win by first round at KO. And then we've got Laird Anderson taking on Luna. Give me Laird Anderson. He is 3-0 so far in Bellator. I think he'll win by decision. I could definitely see a finish here. But, the guy's just been fighting 4-5, 2-2. Luna is 1-0. He does have one win in Bellator, picking up his last win by knockout in the 3rd round. That's why I do think this one is going to go to the judges' scorecards. But still, I think Anderson is going to go out there, and I think he'll pick up the victory. So give me Laird Anderson to win that one by unanimous decision, rounding out the first 4. And this is another one of these fights. I mean, I just couldn't fit it on the first graphic, but Bobby Seronio is going to be taking on his opponent here in this one. He'll be taking on Alberto Garcia. Garcia is a guy who's 2-0, fought twice in Gladiator Challenge, which is a promotion that's run a lot in Northern California. Gladiator Challenge doesn't have the best guys, even though I believe Henry Cejudo fought there once upon a time. But Seronio is a guy, again, 3-0 so far. He's undefeated in Bellator. Every single fight that Seronio has had, they've all been in the Bellator cage. 3-0 his first fight, winning by unanimous decision, beating Caleb Ramirez after that by knockout in the 2nd round, then beating Miguel Pimbert in his last fight by unanimous decision. That was in late 2022. You should see more of the same results here. I mean, again, they are building up, and this is what Bellator does with a lot of these guys, but they are building up Seronio very slowly. He's a minus 800 favorite in this fight. He's only 24 years old. Again, he should run right through Alberto Garcia here. I don't see this one being all that much of a competition. So give me Bobby Seronio. Again, it will not be close. Seronio will likely go in there and just knock him out of the first round. So give me Bobby Seronio III to win by first round knockout. Next up, we've got Anglickas taking on Duvaljan Yagshimuradov here in this fight. For Anglickas, of course, losing his last 2 fights, got the shot at the World Championship when he lost to Vadim Nemkov, got submitted, of course, in the 4th round, and then most recently came back, lost to Phil Davis. Mr. Wonderful beat him by unanimous decision early in 2022. For Phil Davis, I don't know where he's been since then. He won back-to-back fights against Yoel Romero and Anglickas, and he hasn't been seen since. For his opponent, though, and Anglickas' opponent here tonight in Yagshimuradov. For Duvaljan, of course, finally getting on the winning track in Bellator after he came in, lost his first 2 fights, lost the first one in the Grand Prix to Corey Anderson, where he got finished in the 3rd round by ground and pound, and then Carl Albertson beat him by unanimous decision later in 2021. But in 2022, finally picking up a win in Bellator, defeating Rafael Carvalho, winning that fight by TKO in the 2nd round. And that's probably what Yagshimuradov is going to have to do in this fight if he's going to try to beat Anglickas. He's probably going to have to try to get him to the ground. He's going to probably have to work his ground pound and work his top pressure. The thing is, Anglickas is good on the ground too. I just don't feel great about Yagshimuradov striking, especially it hasn't been great in Bellator. Obviously, Corey Anderson beat him on the ground wrestling, and we'll see how this fight does go with Anglickas, because actually, I should take that back. Yagshimuradov's probably going to have to keep this fight standing too. If he's going to have an advantage, he's going to have to at least do some damage against Anglickas on the feet, but I just think it's an incredibly tough matchup for him yet again. I think Anglickas is all around just better. I think his ground game is better. I think, on top, if Yagshimuradov can get on top, then sure, he can be a little bit dangerous up there, or on top of Anglickas, but I don't see that really happening. I think Anglickas is going to be able to fight off the takedowns, and I think he'll be able to do some damage on the feet. So give me Julius Anglickas to win this fight. I think he'll get it done by unanimous decision. Next up, we've got Murtazaliev taking on Tony Johnson. I think Murtazaliev should win this fight. I mean, Tony Johnson's a guy who hasn't been seen in a while. I mean, he did win the Contender Series all the way back in 2019. He was a plus 400 dog to Alton Cunningham, and he came in there and he won the fight. And for Cunningham, his career has not been the same since. He lost to Bivon Lewis in his first round of the Contender, then lost again to Tony Johnson. But Johnson wins that fight, then he comes back, beats Joe Schilling in Bellator, and then he runs in. They give him Dalton Rosta, which doesn't really make too much sense. Rosta beats him by unanimous decision, and then they booked him against Yagshimuradov. Johnson couldn't fight, and now here is Tony Johnson against Murtazaliev. I think it's a somewhat tough matchup for Murtazaliev. Don't get me wrong, because I think Tony Johnson is still very capable. The thing is, the guy has not been all that active since winning on the Contender Series in 2019. The guy's only fought twice, and one of those fights was a 4-month turnaround right after winning on the Contender. The UFC didn't sign him, so Bellator did. Right? Johnson has not been that active. This is a guy that fought in Strikeforce all the way back in the day in 2008. He is an older fighter fighting at an AKA, 39 years old. I don't really see how he wins this fight. He's going to have to stun and knock out Murtazaliev on the feet if he's going to have a chance to win. But other than that, I like Murtazaliev every other aspect of this fight. As long as he just doesn't get knocked out with one punch, he should be able to win. He is all around just better everywhere than Tony Johnson. There's a reason he is a minus 300 favorite. I think Murtazaliev should be able to finish him in the second round. I don't think it's going to last too long. So give me Murtazaliev, who's 1-1 in Bellator, to pick up a second win in the promotion by second round TKO. Next up, we've got Josh Hill taking on Cass Bell. Josh Hill should win this fight. Recently, it hasn't been the best results for Josh Hill. Obviously, losing 2 out of his last 3. The Raufeon Stots loss is going to happen to you. Raufeon Stots is the champion, or I guess the interim champion still, because Sergio Perez isn't fighting just yet. We're going to see Stots versus Patchy Mix. I believe that fight's going to be in Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, Josh Hill loses to Raufeon Stots. He beats Jared Scoggins, where he knocks him out in the second round, and then he runs into Marcus Breno in his last fight. Loses to Breno by unanimous decision. It was a fight that I thought Josh Hill was going to win. It was Breno's first fight in Bellator, coming in from LFA. It was just an interesting matchup that Hill did lose. And now he gets Cass Bell. All right, Cass Bell is a big step down, though. It is. Because, again, Cass Bell has fought the same type of guys Hill has. Don't get me wrong. He's fought Raufeon Stots. He lost by rear naked choke in the third round. He's fought Jared Scoggins. He barely beat him by split decision. He's fought these type of guys, but he just hasn't really produced the same results, right? I mean, or at least the fight outcome hasn't looked the same. Like Josh Hill, of course, goes in there, he knocks out Scoggins. It takes Bell all 15 minutes and barely beats Scoggins in, of course, that final round, or after the scorecards are read after the third. Bell also ran into Jornal Lugo in 2021, lost that fight by unanimous decision. Of course, Bell's entire pro career has been, of course, in Bellator. Not a bad fighter. Cass Bell's not bad. He's good once he gets fights to the ground, but will he be able to get this fight down against Josh Hill? That's a question, and, I just think Hill's all around better. This is a guy, again, very experienced as Josh Hill, 36 years old, fought on the Ultimate Fighter all the way back season 18, a long time ago. That was when Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey were coaching the Ultimate Fighter. Fought Marlon Moraes all the way back in the World Series of Fighting for their World Championship. Again, Hill has been around. He's much older, much more experienced fighter in this one. He should be able to beat Cass Bell. Again, I think Bell is a little bit of a step down considering the guys Hill has been facing and at the levels that they've been at. So it's going to be Josh Hill to win this one. He's going to get it done by unanimous decision. Next up, we've got Enrique Barzola, and he'll be taking on Eric Perez. I think Barzola wins this fight. Now, he is on back-to-back, two fights, 2 losses after beating Darren Caldwell in his first fight in Bellator, after he beat Nikita Milikov by unanimous decision to get into the Grand Prix. He lost to Nurmagomedov, of course, in the 4th round of their fight at Bellator 282, then proceeded to lose 2-1 Archuleta by unanimous decision. Now, that fight was at catchweight, but anyways, Barzola now gets Eric Perez here. For Perez, coming into Bellator, lost his first fight in Bellator, lost first 2 actually, and then lost to Toby Misha in his first fight, and then Josh Hill at Bellator 244. Then beat Blaine Shutt in his last one by unanimous decision, but it has been a while. Eric Perez has not fought since 2021, and it's going to be 2 years since he's last fought. And we're going to see, again, the time away from the cage will be telling in this one. Of course, Perez was a guy that fought in the UFC for a while. He was 7-2 in the UFC. They cut him, of course, when... I don't remember the exact reason why Perez was cut from the UFC, but he goes to Combate, wins 2 fights, comes into Bellator, huge favorite in his first fight, loses, favorite against Josh Hill, loses, gets the Shutt fight. It's a fight that he's, again, a minus 500 favorite in, and he wins. Now Perez gets Enrique Barzola. Barzola is just better, though. I mean, Barzola is just better than what Eric Perez is at this point in their careers. I think, on the ground, I think Barzola is able to fight off anything that Perez is going to be able to offer down there. And on the feet, I think Enrique Barzola is just a better striker at this point. He's younger. I think he's quicker. I think Barzola, again, even though he has lost his last 2, is still coming into his own as a fighter, and he's really just hitting his stride right now, especially, in Bellator. He's minus 275 favorite in this one. I'm going to take Barzola, especially with the, time away from the cage for Perez. Give me Enrique Barzola to go in there. I think he'll get it done by unanimous decision. Okay, very interesting stylistic matchup here. We've got Yamauchi taking on Michael Venom Page. Very interesting, because we're gonna see if Michael Venom Page cannot get, it's basically, can Michael Venom Page keep the fight on the feet, and if he does get taken down, can Yamauchi hold him down? That's really what it is. And it was surprising because, MVP's last fight was in Bellator. It was the Logan Storley lost by split decision. He made a better account of himself than I thought he was going to, honestly. But his last technically fight was the bare knuckle fight where he lost to Mike Perry. Yeah, Mike Perry beat Michael Venom Page in a bare knuckle boxing fight. And, Mike Perry's going to go fight Luke Rockhold next. I'm sorry, but he's probably going to knock out Luke Rockhold because Rockhold's chin, I don't know, that's besides the point. I don't really watch bare knuckle, but all I know is that Mike Perry beat Michael Venom Page by majority decision. That's not going to matter in this fight because Michael Venom Page will be able to outstrike Yamauchi. And if he keeps Yamauchi on the feet, he's going to knock him out. The big question in this fight, though, is can he keep the fight on the feet? Because Yamauchi is going to try to drag him to the ground. You know how good of a grappling game Yamauchi's got. 21 out of his 28 wins are by submission. That is what Yamauchi does to guys. And it's just dependent on if Michael Venom Page can keep the fight on the feet or not. That's really what this fight is. And I'm going to take Yamauchi to win by first round submission. Okay? Because if you're going to pick Yamauchi, that's what's going to happen. If you're going to pick Michael Venom Page, it's probably going to be Michael Venom Page winning by knockout. There's no other way about it. This fight is going to be determined very quickly. It's either, and this is the one way it doesn't, this is the one way if it's not, this is the one way if the fight changes from the first round, this is how it's going to be. The first round, you're going to see who wins the fight. Except for if in the third round, the second round, MVP slips up and Yamauchi, say, takes it back, like what Alexa Grasso did to Valentina Shevchenko and chokes him out. But I don't think it's going to be like that because I think Yamauchi will be able to go to the submission and will be able to go to the grappling and the wrestling really quickly here. I don't know if MVP can fight all that off. And I know, again, he did a decent job fighting off Logan Storley, but all it takes for Yamauchi is he needs to get your back for a second and it's over. It's not Logan Storley, a guy who, again, just lost to Yaroslav Amosov in his last fight, but still, Storley is a good wrestler. He's not likely going to submit you just like that. Yamauchi will. Yamauchi's that good with his jiu-jitsu. If MVP slips up for a second, Yamauchi's gonna put him in a submission, and Yamauchi will win the fight. That's why I'm taking Yamauchi to beat Michael Venom Page. He'll get it done by submission in the first round. Next up at heavyweight, we've got Moldavsky taking on Linton Vassell. Interesting fight because for Linton Vassell on a 4-fight winning streak after losing 3 in a row to the likes of Ryan Bader, Phil Davis, and Moldavsky, he came back. He beat Sergey Kartinov, he beats Ronnie Marks, he beats Terrell Fortune, and he beats Tim Johnson in 4 straight fights. And the Tim Johnson fight completely dominant for Linton Vassell. That fight was back last year. It was on the McKee Pitbull 2 card. And Lynn Vassell takes Tim Johnson down at will. Big ground and pound, finishes the fight by first round knockout. Lynn Vassell looked very good in that fight. And that's Lynn Vassell that's going to have to show up in this Moldavsky fight. The thing is, again, he's already lost to Moldavsky. Moldavsky, though, has not won a fight since 2021 against, yep, you guessed it, Tim Johnson for the interim Bellator Heavyweight Championship. But does anything change from the first fight with this one? I don't know if it does. Because yes, Linton Vassell has looked good in his last couple of fights, but again, who are the guys that he's beat? It's guys that Moldavsky has already beaten. Tim Johnson, Johnson never fought Kartinov, never fought Terrell Fortune, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's guys that Moldavsky has already beat Linton Vassell. He already beat Tim Johnson. Linton Vassell beat Johnson after Moldavsky did, and given he did look better in doing so. Obviously, Tim Johnson stayed in the fight more with Moldavsky when they did fight, and it did take Moldavsky 5 rounds to beat him. And Moldavsky's not going to be the type of guy though that's going to be able to go out there and just immediately knock you out, submit you right away. Moldavsky's more of a heavyweight that's going to win by decision, and that's what I have him to win here. I think he will beat Linton Vassell by decision. I think he's just going to keep Linton Vassell away. I don't think Vassell's going to be able to take him down. I don't think Vassell's going to be able to do much on the feet. I think it's just going to be one-way traffic for the team Moldavsky here. Again, he has not won a fight since he won the interim championship. I think this is a time to win another one. He's at minus 300. Of course, the last fight that he had with Steve Mowry was ended due to an eye poke. Hopefully nothing like that happens in this one against Vassell. So give me Vadim Moldavsky to win this fight. He'll get it done by unanimous decision. So the first fight in the Bellator Lightweight Grand Prix, and it is a good one. Tafik Musayev versus Alexander Shabily. Tremendous fight here. I am so excited for this one because it's a really good fight. However, okay, I think Shabily's got a really easy way to win this fight. And I hate to say it, but I think he's got it's a clear path to victory in this one. If this fight stays standing, it's going to be incredible. Because Shabily, in his last fight where he knocked out Brent Primus, oh my goodness, right? But that's not smart for Shabily if he stays standing with Tafik Musayev, let's be honest. Because Musayev, eventually, I think will get to him and eventually will knock him out. If Shabily just goes to the wrestling, he's going to win this fight, though. That's how simple it is. That's really what it is. When you look at the fights that Musayev's lost, he's lost 4 fights in his career, and, 3 of them have been by submission, 1 of them has been by decision. Given the only fight he has lost since 2014 has been the Roberto de Souza fight back in 2021, and de Souza goes in there for the lightweight championship over in Ryzen, and he submits him with the triangle choke in a minute, right? Alexander Shabily is a good wrestler, and disregard the Brent Primus fight. Look at the Bobby King fight. That's all Alexander Shabily does in that fight. Shabily just wrestles Bobby King, basically. He threatens with a couple arm triangle chokes, which happens to be, again, the same choke. Or actually, no, De Souza got Musayev in a triangle choke, not an arm triangle choke. But anyways, Shabily threatens a little bit with an arm triangle choke, doesn't get it against Bobby King, but that's what he's going to do against Tafik Musayev. I don't think Musayev's going to be able to keep the fight on the feet. I really don't think he's going to. You look at his last fight against Sidney Outlaw, he takes that fight on short notice, looks really good in that fight. Comes in as a replacement, knocks out Sidney Outlaw in the first round. Huge win for him, sure. But is he going to be able to keep Shabily on the feet? Because I think Shabily is going to be able to take him down. He's just going to be able to grind him out on the ground. Because if he doesn't, it's going to be a good fight. Because on the feet, these two guys are very evenly matched. I think Musayev is better on the feet. Obviously, I think Musayev's got more power. But Shabily, again, has been looking better and better with his striking as time has gone on. Of course, watch the Brent Primus fight. That knockout is huge. But I don't think he's going to play around on the feet with Tafik Musayev because it'd be stupid of him to do that. You got 5 rounds here. Shabli's just going to out-wrestle him for the first 3 and see where it goes from there. Because eventually, again, Musayev is going to tire trying to get back up every single damn time because I think the takedown's going to be there for Alexander Shabily. And if Shabily doesn't go the full 5, there's a definite chance that he goes in there and submits him in that first round too. There's a chance that happens if he just, out-wills him and gets him to the ground and gets him in a submission. I'm going to take Alexander Shabily. Again, I like the striking out of Tafik Musayev, like the power, but still I think Shabily, again, matchup-wise, he's in such a better position to win this fight. He's going to go in there, he's going to get a takedown, he's going to win this fight by decision. He'll probably get 5 takedowns. It's probably all he'll need. So Alexander Shabily will win this fight. He'll get it done by unanimous decision. Moving on to the second round. All right, main event time, and let's be honest, this will be quick. I mean, Usman Nurmagomedov is the 1 seed in this tournament. Benson Henderson's probably the 8. No, it's probably Lorenz Larkin. Lorenz Larkin's probably the 8 seed. Or not Lorenz Larkin, sorry. Lorenz Larkin's not in this tournament. Sidney Outlaw is likely the 8 seed, but then Outlaw's not in it anymore, so it's Brent Primus, so it's probably Brent Primus. Anyways, this is a fight that Usman Nurmagomedov's going to win. The guy's 24 years old, he's 16-0, and he's a minus 2,000 favorite against a guy who's a former world champion in Benson Henderson, right? Benson Henderson, you thought he was kind of done, honestly, after he went on that big losing streak. He loses to the likes of Michael Chandler, Jason Jackson, Brent Primus, but then he goes in, he beats Islam Mamedov by split decision in a huge upset, and then he does what he's supposed to do against Peter Creeley, beating him by unanimous decision over in Dublin, Ireland. Again, Benson Henderson has won as a big underdog in the past. You look at the Mamedov fight, he's a plus 360 dog in that fight, but he's a plus 1,400 underdog in this fight. He is not going to beat Usman Nurmagomedov. He's not. I mean, you look what Usman Nurmagomedov did to, of course, his last opponent in Patricky Pitbull. He goes in there and he dominates him. He doesn't get the submission, which he's done in a lot of fights, but he goes in there and he just out-wrestles him for 25 minutes. And he's shown the capability that he can do such a thing, and he's probably going to do the same thing against Benson Henderson. I think Benson Henderson will try more things on the ground. He'll try more escapes. He'll try more reversals. He'll try to get back up to his feet. But what that does, it potentially puts him in a spot to get submitted. It potentially puts him in a scramble where Nurmagomedov's got a front and choke and Nurmagomedov finishes the fight that way. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Henderson will go the full 25, but I think Usman Nurmagomedov's going to win. Again, there's not much you need to say about this. The guy's 16-0. Henderson's good, but he's really, again, he should not be in the position to fight Usman Nurmagomedov here because Nurmagomedov, again, undefeated 17-0. There are tougher fights for him in this bracket, but really this one is the easiest one you are going to find for him. Other than Patricky Pitbull and maybe other than Brent Primus, this is the easiest fight. So Benson Henderson, I think, is the true number 6 seed in this, and Nurmagomedov is obviously the number 1, but give me Usman here. It's not going to be that close of a fight. I'm excited to see what we see out of him in the future in this tournament, but for now, this is just, again, this is light work for Usman Nurmagomedov. He'll win this fight by out-wrestling Benson Henderson. He'll get him the ground at will. Unanimous decision victory for Usman Nurmagomedov, keeping the title in Dagestan, of course, and moving on to the next round. So, folks, thank you all for watching our Bellator 292 predictions here on the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure you like if you did enjoy enjoyed the video. Comment if you do disagree with any of the picks, and go check out our UFC Jan versus Shabily predictions. Link is in the description down below, so go check out that video as well. Thanks for watching, and Mamba forever.